The call came at 3:45 p.m. "Mrs. Morgan? This is Lakeside Elementary. Your daughter is still waiting to be picked up." Emily Morgan's heart sank. Todd had never missed a pickup. Not once in 7 years. By 6:30 p.m., police pushed open the front door of the Morgan home, calling out into the silence. What they found in the upstairs bedroom would shock the quiet town of Hudson, Ohio to its core. Dr. Todd Morgan, respected professor, loving father of two, lay motionless, his blood staining the carpet beneath him. The perfect family man was gone, and with him, a secret no one saw coming. Welcome to Crime's Hive, where we examine the shadows lurking behind ordinary lives. Today's case explores how well we truly know those closest to us. Dr. Todd Morgan's story reveals what happens when secrets fester beneath a carefully constructed public image, and the deadly consequences that can follow. Have you ever suspected someone in your life was hiding something significant? The line between privacy and deception is often blurred. Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this case already has you questioning appearances, hit that like button as we continue exploring Todd Morgan's shocking double life. Todd Morgan's story began like countless others, a bright child from a modest Midwestern home. Born in 1982 to parents who valued education above all else, Todd excelled from the start. His high school teachers noted his unusual ability to connect with others while maintaining top grades. At Northwestern University, he discovered his passion for psychology, graduating summa cum laude before pursuing his doctorate. By age 31, Dr. Morgan had published research on cognitive behavioral patterns that earned recognition from leading minds in the field. His colleagues described him as brilliant but approachable, a rare combination in academia. Todd met Emily during his sophomore year of college. She was studying art history, his opposite in many ways, yet they connected instantly. After graduation, they married in a small ceremony attended by close family and friends. They settled in Hudson, Ohio, where Todd had accepted a teaching position. Their daughter Lily arrived in 2016, followed by son Max in 2019. Their colonial home became the gathering spot for neighborhood barbecues and holiday parties. On weekends, Todd could be found coaching Lily's soccer team or building elaborate Lego structures with Max. Emily later told investigators that Todd prioritized family time, rarely missing dinner and always making it home for bedtime stories, regardless of his workload. To her, they were living the life they'd always dreamed of. At the University of Cleveland, Dr. Morgan quickly became a standout faculty member. His Introduction to Behavioral Psychology course had waiting lists every semester. Students described his lectures as transformative, with one former student noting, "He made complex theories feel accessible and relevant." By 2021, Todd had secured tenure, published 2 well-received textbooks, and developed a therapy approach that gained traction in clinical settings nationwide. Beyond campus, he volunteered at the Hudson Community Center, sat on the library board, and organized annual fundraisers for mental health awareness. Neighbors, colleagues, and acquaintances all used the same words to describe him: dedicated, thoughtful, exceptional. No one imagined the truth that lay beneath this carefully crafted exterior. We often present different versions of ourselves in different contexts, but when does adaptation become deception? If you find yourself questioning the facades in your own life, subscribe and hit the notification bell. Our next segment reveals how Todd's perfect image began to crack. Looking back, the changes in Todd began in late 2022. Emily first noticed small disruptions to their routine, Todd checking his phone more frequently during family dinners, declining weekend outings he'd previously enjoyed. His sleep patterns shifted. He'd stay up until 2 or 3 a.m., claiming he was catching up on research. Colleagues at the university noticed changes too. Dr. Harmon, who shared an office wall with Todd, recalled how his once open door policy gradually disappeared. He started keeping his door closed, his blinds drawn. Conversations that once happened in the hallway moved behind the closed door. His teaching remained exemplary, but he stopped joining faculty for lunch and declined social invitations. The changes were subtle enough that no single instance raised serious concern, yet collectively they marked the beginning of a profound transformation. By February 2023, Todd's absences became more noticeable. Emily's journal, later discovered by investigators, documented her confusion. Todd missed Max's preschool play today, said he had a meeting that couldn't be rescheduled. He's never missed the kids' events before. The pattern continued: a forgotten anniversary dinner, a basketball game watched in isolation rather than with the family, lengthy work calls that required privacy. The children felt the shift too. 6-year-old Lily asked why Daddy doesn't laugh anymore. Family movie nights dwindled from weekly traditions to rare occurrences. When physically present, Todd seemed mentally elsewhere, nodding absently during conversations, his eyes distant. The warm, engaged father and husband they knew seemed to be fading, replaced by someone who occupied the same space but existed in a different world. Emily initially attributed Todd's behavioral shifts to work pressure. The department is pushing for more publications, he'd explained. She told her sister during a phone call, he's just stressed about the tenure committee review. Emily convinced herself this phase would pass. When she discovered odd credit card charges, hotel stays in nearby Cleveland on nights he claimed to be at conferences, restaurant bills for 2 on evenings he said he was working late, she confronted him. Todd dismissed her concerns with plausible explanations. Department meetings ran late, he treated students to dinner discussions. His psychology background served him well. He knew exactly how to redirect her questions, making Emily question her own instincts rather than his behavior. "Maybe I'm overreacting," she wrote in her journal. "He's always been devoted to us. There must be a reasonable explanation." Thursday, April 13, 2023, began like any other day. Todd kissed Emily goodbye, dropped Max at preschool, and headed to campus for his morning lecture. At 3:30 p.m., when Lily stood alone in the school pickup line, watching other children leave with their parents, she told her teacher, "My dad always comes at 3:15. The school called Emily, who was in a meeting across town. Emily called Todd repeatedly, straight to voicemail. She texted, then called the university. His department chair confirmed he'd left campus hours ago. By 5:45 p.m., Emily's worry had transformed to dread. She called the Hudson Police Department, requesting a welfare check at their home. Officers Thompson and Rivera approached the Morgan residence at 6:32 p.m. The 2-story colonial home sat quiet among similar houses, nothing outwardly amiss except Todd's silver Audi in the driveway, unusual for a Thursday afternoon when he should have been collecting his daughter. The front door stood slightly ajar. "Hudson Police, anyone home?" Officer Thompson called, receiving only silence in return. They noted nothing disturbed in the entryway or living room. Family photos lined the walls, a half-finished cup of coffee sat on the kitchen counter. The house felt normal, ordinary, except for the heavy stillness. No TV noise, no shuffling upstairs, none of the typical sounds of a family home. Following protocol, they began a systematic search, moving from the first floor toward the bedrooms. The master bedroom door was partially open. Officer Thompson's flashlight beam cut through the dimness, landing first on a family portrait above the dresser before settling on the figure lying beside the bed. Todd Morgan lay on his back, a handgun several feet from his outstretched right hand. Blood had pooled beneath his head, staining the carpet. "Dispatch, we have a 10 to 54, Officer Rivera radioed, requesting medical examiner response." The room showed no signs of struggle, no overturned furniture, no forced entry points. Todd still wore his teaching clothes, khakis, blue button-down, loafers. His phone sat on the nightstand, along with his wedding ring and wallet. Rivera secured the scene while Thompson returned downstairs to await backup. Later, Thompson would tell investigators, "In 15 years of police work, the contrast between that peaceful home and what happened in that bedroom still haunts me." News travels quickly in small communities like Hudson. By morning, neighbors gathered in hushed clusters at property lines. Students received a solemn email from the university president announcing Dr. Morgan's sudden passing. Within 48 hours, tributes flooded social media, former students sharing how Todd had changed their career trajectories, colleagues praising his contributions to the department. A memorial of flowers grew outside his lecture hall. The local newspaper ran a front-page profile highlighting his academic achievements and community service. Initial reports framed his death as a tragedy without details, leading to whispered speculation, a health crisis, perhaps, or an accident. No one publicly voiced the possibility of violence. "He was the last person you'd expect this to happen to," said neighboring Professor Dr. Alan Chen. "Whatever happened in that house doesn't match the Todd we knew. When someone we trust completely dies under mysterious circumstances, it forces us to question everything. Have you ever discovered something shocking about someone close to you after they were gone? Share your experiences below, and like this video if you're noticing how easily we accept the versions of people they choose to present. Detective Marissa Chen took lead on Todd Morgan's case, initially approaching it as a potential suicide. The scene was consistent with self-infliction, she noted in her preliminary report. But inconsistencies emerged during the first 48 hours. The angle of the wound didn't align with typical self-inflicted injuries. Gunshot residue testing showed unusual patterns on Todd's hands. Most tellingly, the gun, a Glock 19, wasn't registered to Todd. Emily confirmed he'd never owned firearms and had actually expressed discomfort around them. The medical examiner's report delivered the final verdict: homicide. Time of death was estimated between 12:30 and 1:45 p.m., hours before the missed school pickup. Detective Chen's team expanded their investigation, interviewing colleagues, students, and neighbors. They collected security footage from nearby homes and businesses. Todd's office at the university underwent thorough examination, yielding little beyond academic papers and student evaluations. His campus computer contained nothing suspicious, just lecture notes, research articles, and correspondence with colleagues. It was his personal devices that would finally expose the truth hiding beneath Dr. Morgan's carefully constructed life. Todd's personal laptop and phone revealed an existence parallel to his public life. Forensic technician James Morales recovered deleted messages, hidden apps, and private browsing histories dating back 14 months. It was like discovering a completely different person, Morales explained. Todd maintained separate email accounts and messaging profiles under the alias Thomas Mercer. His search history revealed extensive research on privacy methods, untraceable payments, and data encryption. Financial records showed cash withdrawals of $2,000 to $3,000 monthly, money Emily wasn't aware of. Most revealing was a second phone found hidden in Todd's office at home, containing communications with individuals unknown to his family or colleagues. The digital trail painted a portrait of someone methodically constructing a separate existence, one carefully walled off from his reputation as a respected academic and family man. Behind password-protected accounts, Todd frequented forums dedicated to high-stakes gambling and anonymous encounters. Starting as a casual visitor, his digital footprint showed escalating involvement. He began participating in underground poker games with buy-ins exceeding $10,000 per night. His messages revealed substantial debts to people identified only by initials or pseudonyms. More concerning were his connections to a network facilitating pharmaceutical transactions, prescription medications obtained without proper authorization. Dr. Morgan's psychology background helped him navigate these spaces with calculated precision. He compartmentalized this shadow life so effectively that he continued publishing respected academic papers while simultaneously descending further into these high-risk communities. In messages to one contact, Todd wrote, "The rush is addictive. I feel more alive in these moments than in years of faculty meetings." The respectable professor had found escape in precisely the behaviors he warned students against in his lectures on addiction psychology. Todd's deepest entanglement was with Alexander Reeves, a name unknown to Emily or any of Todd's colleagues. Digital records revealed hundreds of messages between them over 6 months. Reeves operated on the periphery of legitimate business, running private gambling operations across 3 states while maintaining connections to prescription drug distribution networks. Their relationship began professionally but evolved into something more complicated. Todd, leveraging his psychology expertise, began advising Reeves on reading opponents during high-stakes games. In exchange, Todd received privileged access to exclusive games and pharmaceutical supplies. 3 weeks before his murder, the tone of their communications shifted dramatically. "You promised discretion. This threatens everything," Reeves wrote. Todd responded, "I need out completely. Too much risk now." Financial records showed Todd attempting to withdraw $45,000, nearly his entire savings, 2 days before his death. Security footage from a Cleveland hotel captured Todd meeting with Reeves and 2 unknown associates 36 hours before the murder. Their conversation appeared heated, with Todd leaving abruptly. Detective Chen later determined one of those associates visited Hudson the following day, the day Todd Morgan was killed. The investigation centered on Marcus Kelly, One of the associates seen with Reeves in the hotel footage. Kelly, a former finance professional with a record of fraud charges, served as Reeves' enforcer for debt collection. Cell tower data placed Kelly's phone in Hudson on the day of the murder, just blocks from the Morgan residence. Surveillance video from a gas station captured his silver Dodge Charger entering town at 11:43 a.m. and leaving at 2:17 p.m. What connected Todd and Kelly? Financial records told the story. Todd had accumulated gambling debts exceeding $75,000 to Reeves' operation. But more concerning for Reeves was Todd's growing anxiety about their arrangement. Text messages revealed Todd had begun documenting their transactions, possibly as leverage or insurance. Detective Chen concluded, Todd wanted out and had information that could damage Reeves' operation. This made him not just a debtor, but a liability. The case against Kelly solidified through methodical detective work. A partial fingerprint found on the bedroom doorframe matched Kelly's prints from his previous arrests. Forensic analysis of soil samples from the Morgan driveway contained traces of unusual motor oil matching Kelly's vehicle. A neighbor's security camera captured a glimpse of someone matching Kelly's description walking toward the Morgan home at 12:22 p.m. The murder weapon, recovered from a drainage ditch 5 miles from the crime scene, carried microscopic fibers from gloves identical to those later found in Kelly's apartment. Most damning was digital evidence. Kelly's phone had searched for directions to the Morgan residence, and cell data confirmed his presence during the critical time window. A confidential informant from within Reeves' organization eventually confirmed to detectives that Kelly had been dispatched to handle the professor problem on direct orders from Reeves himself. What began as a business relationship evolved into a deadly power struggle. According to prosecutors, Todd initially valued his connection to Reeves. It provided excitement, status in underground circles, and escape from his structured academic life. But as his debts mounted and his family life suffered, Todd grew desperate to extricate himself. His fatal mistake was attempting to use insider knowledge as leverage. Text messages recovered from Reeves' phone revealed Todd had written, "I know about Cleveland, Pittsburgh, and especially Columbus. I just want clean separation, no debt." This reference to Reeves' operations across 3 states constituted a perceived threat. Morgan knew too much about too many people, Detective Chen explained. He understood human psychology, using subtle implications of exposure to negotiate his freedom. But in those circles, such tactics weren't viewed as negotiation, they were seen as blackmail. Reeves, facing potential exposure of operations worth millions, made a calculated decision to eliminate the risk permanently. Police arrested Marcus Kelly at his Cleveland apartment on May 2, 2023, 19 days after Todd's murder. The arrest wasn't publicized immediately as authorities worked to build their case against Alexander Reeves. In a pre-dawn raid on May 15, federal agents and local police arrested Reeves at his lakefront property, along with 3 associates. Prosecutors charged Kelly with first-degree murder, breaking and entering, and weapons violations. Reeves faced charges of conspiracy to commit murder, racketeering, illegal gambling operations, and distribution of controlled substances. District Attorney Melissa Warren announced during the press conference, "This case demonstrates that no matter how carefully criminals attempt to hide their actions, justice will eventually prevail." Both men pleaded not guilty at their arraignments. Kelly's attorney suggested he would cooperate with prosecutors in exchange for reduced charges, potentially exposing Reeves' entire operation. The trial was scheduled for November 2023, with both facing potential life sentences. In the aftermath, Emily Morgan faced impossible questions. "I slept beside this man for 15 years, she told a close friend. How did I miss the signs?" She cycled through anger, grief, and profound confusion. The discovery of Todd's gambling debts left the family financially devastated, their savings depleted, their home leveraged against loans she never knew existed. Emily attended therapy twice weekly, struggling to reconcile the loving father she married with the stranger revealed through police reports. "Some days I miss him terribly," she confessed. "Other days, I wonder if I ever truly knew him at all." The duality of her grief, mourning both a beloved husband and the betrayal of trust, left wounds unlikely to fully heal. Lily and Max, at 7 and 4, comprehended their father's death differently. Lily withdrew, her schoolwork suffering as nightmares disrupted her sleep. She asked repeatedly when Daddy was coming home, unable to process the permanence of death. Max, too young to understand fully, still watched the door around dinner time, waiting for his father's return. Child psychologists work with both children, using play therapy and age-appropriate explanations. Emily shielded them from the criminal details, telling them simply that someone hurt Daddy. Their grandmother moved in temporarily, providing stability as the family navigated their new reality. The children's resilience emerged gradually, small moments of laughter returning, new routines forming, though the shadow of their loss remained. The University of Cleveland community initially reacted with disbelief. Many colleagues refused to accept the findings, insisting there must be a mistake. The Todd Morgan I knew couldn't be involved in these activities, Department Chair Dr. Rivera stated. As evidence mounted, the university established a support group for confused students and faculty. The psychology department confronted uncomfortable discussions about compartmentalization and secret lives, concepts Todd had lectured on for years. Hudson residents, who had welcomed the Morgans as ideal neighbors, questioned their own judgments. The case prompted community forums on mental health resources and addiction support.
Thank you, Judge. Your Honor, this is case number 2023-05-1679, State of Ohio versus Terreionna Paschal. Ms. Paschal is present in court today, represented by counsels Jeff Laybourne and Noah Munier. Your Honor, this is set today for sentencing following a plea of guilty to aggravated murder yesterday.
Are the parties ready to proceed for sentencing?
State's ready. Yes, Your Honor.
All right. I would presume the state wants to go first.
Yes, Judge. And I didn't know you're going to do the registry afterwards, or?
I am, because it's going to be upon conviction, so we've already done that.
Okay. Yes, Judge. We have 4 family members who would like to address the court and the defendant at this time.
Okay.
I'm asking each person to state their full name and their relationship to Todd.
Okay, please, thank you.
Sean Dingus, D-I-N-G-E-S-S. I'm his Todd's brother. Just want you to know how many lives you've affected, my brother and children. I'll never see him again. So many things I'd like to say, but I'm going to leave it at that.
Honor, first I want to say thank you for allowing me to address you in this court today. I am Mary, and I share a child with the victim, Dr. Todd Morgan. I stand before you today not just as a grieving friend, but as a voice for our daughter who will never have the chance to grow up with her father. Dr. Morgan was an exceptional intellectual devoted to his students and colleagues. He recently received an award in 2024 for his significant contributions to research, but tragically he was not alive to accept it. His kindness and inspiration touched everyone around him, and the academic community has now lost a remarkable mentor. Todd was also a loving father. Since his murder, my daughter's life has been irrevocably altered. At just 6 years old, she is at one of the most impressionable stages of her life. She was only 4 when she waited at school for her dad to pick her up, not understanding why he never came. When I arrived, she was confused and desperately wanted to call him, but each call went unanswered. I had to explain to her that her daddy wouldn't be coming back because someone had hurt him. I watched her curl up in my arms, hiding her face as she processed this unimaginable loss. For months following, she would cry out for us whenever we left the room, terrified that we wouldn't return. This fear of abandonment stemmed directly from the sudden absence of her father. She struggled with being alone even for a moment and faced challenges no child should ever have to endure. This trauma is emotional, confusing, and deeply rooted. She has navigated many milestones without her dad by her side, and I worry about the long-term effects of this loss as she grows older and begins to comprehend what has happened. Her friends have already started asking about her father's death, and I find myself at a loss for how to explain it to such young children. I have been taking her to therapy to provide her the support she needs to cope with life without her dad. But no amount of therapy can fill the void that he unwillingly left behind. The impact of this loss lingers in our daily lives. I ask the court to consider the profound effects this crime has had on us. Dr. Todd Morgan was more than a victim. He was a beloved father, friend, and educator. His legacy deserves to be honored, and I hope that justice will be served not only for him, but for his children, who deserve to grow up in a world that remembers their father with love and respect. Now, Your Honor, if you will allow it, I would like to address the guilty party.
You may.
Ms. Paschal, you have caused immense pain to many in this room. That pain exists because Todd was so deeply loved. We are all deeply loved. Despite our suffering, I find myself feeling sorry for you. You do not know love. If you had ever truly loved or been loved, we would not be here in this courtroom today, and with you in your situation as you now stand. I pity you for the emptiness of your existence. You have lived a life devoid of love, support, and purpose, and now you face a future devoid of any chance for redemption. What should have been some of the best days of your life will instead be spent in a bleak repetition of regret. I do not envy you or the life you have chosen. That is all, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor, for allowing us to speak today. My name is Matthew Metz, last name spelled M-E-T-Z. I am speaking on behalf of all of our family. I'm Todd's cousin, speaking on behalf of all of our family who are with us presently in the courtroom and with us through Zoom. Your Honor, we stand before you today not just as grieving family, but as the voices of the people who knew and loved Todd the most, whose life was so cruelly taken from us. No words can fully express the pain and the emptiness and the profound sense of loss that we feel every day since Todd was murdered. Todd was not just another statistic. He was a loving father of two beautiful children, Aaron and Cece. He was a kind and compassionate son to Sandy. He was a loving brother to Sean. He was a caring uncle. He was an amazing cousin, a teacher, a mentor, and a friend to many. He dreamed big and his future was bright, a future which was unfairly taken from him. The defendant has caused unthinkable pain to our family, and we feel the negative ripple effects of this heinous act for the rest of our lives. Todd has already missed greatly in the traditions that he loved so much: birthday celebrations, Thanksgiving and Christmas dinners, family games, and so many other special things. Little did we know that when we lost our precious mother and grandmother, Todd would be taken from us 6 months later. Todd spoke with such eloquence at her funeral, not knowing that he would be the next family member we would be mourning. Our family has been rocked by this death, and we have seen the devastating effects on those who loved him the most. We have watched as Sandy, Todd's mother, has experienced deep grief and unimaginable pain, a tragedy that no mother should ever have to deal with. We have watched as Sean, Todd's brother, has battled bouts of deep depression and grief. And maybe worst of all, we have seen how Aaron and Cece have had to learn how to navigate life without their loving daddy. We understand that no sentence and no judgment could ever bring back what has been so selfishly taken from us, but we do ask for justice to be served. We as a family are requesting that she receive the maximum sentence that can be given for this case. Ms. Paschal, our faith in Christ is foundational to our lives. Therefore, we turn to his words and his ways. We will not retaliate. We will not seek revenge. We will find it in our hearts to forgive you. And we will rest this case into the hands of a holy and just God. We pray that you will seek forgiveness from those whom you have dealt so much pain. But ultimately, we pray that you will seek forgiveness from God, which can be found in Christ, so that you don't have to face the eternity that awaits you. Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you for allowing us to speak. We trust in this court to bring out about proper justice for Todd.
Thank you, Mr.
Honor, my name is Sandy Morgan, and I am Todd's mother. I'd like, and thank you for the opportunity to let us speak today. I'd like to show the court a couple photos, if I may. This was from Todd's funeral. There's only 5 pictures here, and they're supposed to kind of grasp his life as he was growing, but his life was so much more. This was the Easter before he passed away, when I was at his home with his children. We went to church that day, and he told me, he said, "Mom, I'm broken, and I know only God can fix it, and I want to give my life back to God." That was indeed a special day for a mom who's been praying for him. Anyway, Katie, can you take that? This is Todd and his brother Sean, who he just has no words for his grief. And this is me and my children when they were younger. Todd was about 12 there. And this is when Todd first moved to Ohio when he was about 18, 19 after high school.
That was his first apartment. Thanks. This is a shirt that we all had made and gathered at his cemetery to have a service on the anniversary of his death. I'm not wearing it. I will put it on later, but I had to think about Todd in all of this, and I just thought Todd would want his mom to wear something else. I'd like to address you, Ms. Paschal, in my statement. I'm Todd's mom. I always will be. Todd's not here to tell his story. Only God, Todd, and you know the truth of what happened on April 9th. All I know, he was brutally murdered by you, and he basically died for nothing. You didn't even know him. Your actions to take my son's life changed my life forever. It's changed all of our lives. Even more so, you took a father from two beautiful children. They were his world, and he was there. In the morning of Monday, April 17, Todd and his children got up for school. They left their toys where they last played, their snacks and drinks in Aaron's bedroom where they played Minecraft. Their Easter bucket still full of candy sat on the living room floor. Their shoes and coats were on the back by the slider. They planned on coming back home to their things, but most of all to their daddy. Todd dropped him off for school. Aaron recalls his daddy's last words to him: "I love you. I'll see you Wednesday. We are going to our favorite restaurant and have our favorite French fries." Because of you, Todd never got the chance to pick up his children ever again. They never got to say goodbye. When Todd did not show up to pick up Cece from school, her mother knew something was wrong because Todd would never not show up. She called 911 for a welfare check. Todd was found lying in a pool of blood just a couple feet from the slider, his handprint on the slider indicating he had tried to get out of the house. He lay there for 12 hours before he was found. 30 hours later, I found myself hearing the words that no one should ever have to hear. "Do you have a son, Todd?" "Yes." "Well, I'm sorry to inform you that he is no longer with us." "What?" "He's passed." My brain, to protect my whole being, went into shock. I went numb. I screamed. From that day forward, my life has changed. I'm sad most of the time. I feel like I'm living a nightmare. I want to tell everyone here, and especially Miss Paschal, about Todd. You knew nothing about him, yet you took his life. I loved him dearly. As a child, Todd was fun and energetic and intelligent and strong-willed. He was an excellent student and an overachiever. He had great ideas, and he was driven even as a young boy. He was adventurous. After graduating from high school, he traveled Europe on his own. Then he went to college, and eventually he graduated with a PhD in business administration. He always worked hard to achieve his goals. He taught at 3 universities and earned a tenure at 2 in a very short time. Unfortunately, he was not here to learn he had earned a tenure at Cleveland State University. He had worked so hard that spring to submit his papers, and later at his funeral we found out he had earned tenure. He also earned an award for his research just this past spring that he was not here to receive. This trophy sits on my buffet. But his biggest life accomplishments, and most importantly to him, were his 2 beautiful children, Aaron and Cece. They were his pride and joy. He was a good father. He was always concerned for them and had their best interest at heart. He played with them. They danced at home together. They sang in the car together to pass time. They played Would You Rather. They loved board games, movie nights, bedtime stories, and prayers together, playing Minecraft, softball, and going to the park and the beach. He made mistakes in his life, and he was always so upset when he did. However, the evening of April 18, 2023, he made a fatal mistake. and he allowed you into his home. You brutally took his life, and the children will never experience their favorite things with Daddy again. Instead of being with Daddy, they are separated into two separate homes. They don't get to see each other very often, and it breaks my heart so much. They are already growing up. They've had birthday parties and sports events and school events and many other important things that he has not been there for. They will graduate from high school, college, and get married someday and have children. Their daddy will be missed for every moment of their life, for everything. The pain I feel for them is unbearable. My grief I cannot even express. I know now, though, what deep grief is, and I also know what God's grace really is. I experience it every day. The depth of pain I feel is beyond understanding. There's just a deep, deep hole in my heart. My boy, I missed him so much, and I loved him so much. I miss his visits, his calls, his conversation, and his chuckle. I find myself, it rings in my mind. Most days I feel empty. I have lost my zeal for life in general. I find myself looking forward and longing for that day I see Todd again in heaven. And many days I don't want to keep going, but I have to. Because God still has a plan for me. I have to be here in this place for my grandchildren, whom I love dearly, my son, and all of my family. In conclusion, I would like to say, I hope you burn in hell, but I can't, because I'm a Christian. I serve a God of love and a God of justice. I know that it is not God's will for anyone, not even you. What he wants is that you truly repent for this evil act you have committed. I sincerely hope you will find true forgiveness that only Jesus gives us when we ask. This is the only way you will ever be truly free. Todd's family deserves to know what really happened that day. If you ever find the courage to tell the truth, I would like to hear it from you. His children would like to hear it, I'm sure, someday when they're adults, and his family would like to know. May God help you, Ms. Paschal. And I hope you, in all of those dark moments where you'll be sitting, that you will find and seek him. Your Honor, I would like to see Ms. Paschal pay dearly for taking my son's life, for the pain she has caused for so many, especially his children. I want justice for Todd, and I hope you will assign the maximum sentence to her. In finality, I want to thank Detective Rock and the entire Hudson Police Department for all the hard work and hours they put into solving this for Todd. I also want to thank the prosecution team, Prosecutor Laprenzi and Prosecutor Sellerson, and Katie here, my advocate, our advocate, for all the hard work they put in to have justice for Todd. You are all truly amazing and have been a support for our family during this whole time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Morgan. Mr. Laprenzi?
Thank you, Judge. At this time, I could say a lot of things about this case. I think the court already knows. We've already took a plea yesterday. I don't want to say anything that's going to diminish or distract from the family. They've been very gracious here today, and I think their words were profound. So I'm not going to say anything about the court about this case. However, I will indicate that this was an agreed sentence. I know the family is asking for the maximum sentence, which obviously you know they have a right to do. But on behalf of this state, after discussing with them and the Hudson Police Department, we made the decision that a life sentence with the parole eligibility at 23 years would be a fair sentence based on the other sentences in this courthouse for similar type acts. In regard to that, we also took into consideration, as you can see today, how this family, as they put it, has been rocked. And taking that into consideration, we could have taken this case to trial, gotten more convictions, more charges, and maybe a higher sentence. However, putting this family through that, we felt the best thing for them, best thing for this case, and best thing, to be consistent with other cases of similar nature, we agreed to this 23-year sentence, life sentence with parole eligibility after 20 years plus 3 years consecutive to a gun spec. And then based on that, Judge, we would ask this court to accept that recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. LaPrenzi. Mr. Sallerson, did you want to add anything?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. All right, I'll now turn to the defense. Mr. Laybourne?
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court. We too ask the court to consider adopting the negotiated plea. We believe that it is a fair and just sentence for everyone involved. Let me just state that this is a tragedy for two families here. Ms. Paschal sits in front of you with a very limited criminal record. At the time of the offense was living a difficult life, the details of which we shared with the court yesterday prior to the plea, but she was living a difficult life. Despite that, she does have family here in the courtroom that support her, that love her, that are going to help her through the next several years. I think it's important to note that Ms. Paschal almost immediately accepted responsibility for this offense and expressed remorse. At the first opportunity that an offer was provided by the state, we appreciate that offer, she accepted it. This was not a situation where she relished the fact of putting the family through more trauma of a trial, and she has not done that. She did not want to do that. She wanted to accept responsibility. She's expressed remorse privately to us about her actions, and she is truly sorry. So I think that this is a fair resolution, and I'd ask the court to consider adopting it.
Thank you. Mr. Munyer, anything you wish to add?
Nothing, Your Honor. Thank you.
Ms. Paschal, you, as the defendant in this matter, have a right to make a statement. You're not required to do so, but if you would like to, now is the time.
Yes, to his family, I'm very sorry, and I hope that one day that you can find it in your hearts to forgive me. That's it.
All right, Ms. Paschal, I will remind you of a couple of things. First and foremost, did you execute the violent offender database form?
She's going to sign it right now, Judge.
All right.
Sign the form, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right. Now, I know that you've gone over this form with your attorneys, but I am still going to read it into the record so you are fully aware of your responsibilities. You have been convicted or pled guilty to a qualifying violent offender offense as defined by the Ohio Revised Code. Since you will be sentenced to a prison term, you must enroll in the database personally with the sheriff of the county in which you reside 10 days after your release. You are required to provide to the sheriff certain information, which includes your full name and any aliases you use, your residence, your social security number, any driver's license number or CDL number or state identification number, information regarding the offense of which you have been convicted, and the name and address of any place where you are employed, the name and address of any school or institution of education that you attend, the license plate number of any vehicle owned or operated by you or registered in your name, the vehicle information of that vehicle, and any description of that vehicle, a description of any scars, tattoos, or other distinguishing marks on your person. You are required to provide the sheriff fingerprints and palm prints. The sheriff will also obtain a photograph of you at the time of your enrollment. After the date of your initial enrollment, you are required to re-enroll annually. You must update and/or amend any of the information described above that has changed and provide any additional information requested at the county sheriff's office within 10 days of the anniversary of the calendar date on which you are initially enrolled. If you change your residence address during the 10-year enrollment period, you must provide written notice of that change to the sheriff with whom you most recently enrolled, and to the sheriff in the county in which you intend to reside within 3 days of the change of address. You are required to comply with all of these requirements for a period of 10 years after any release, unless your sentencing court determines otherwise. Your expected residence address would be Summit County, therefore you shall enroll upon release to the sheriff's office located at 205 East Crozier Street. Ms. Paschal, failure to enroll or failure to verify any residence at the specified times will result in a criminal prosecution. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. In addition, I will remind you that you do have certain appellate rights. They are limited because you did enter into a plea in this matter. However, if you wish to file an appeal, you must do that within 30 days of today, which is your sentencing date. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
You will be entitled to jail time credit. That number I do not have for you at this point, but it will be reflected in your journal entry. You must pay attention to that when you receive that. Understood?
Yes, sir.
During your time at the Ohio Reformatory for Women, you shall not use any drugs, alcohol, or illicit substances, and you may be subject to random testing for that while you're incarcerated. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you to the family for being here, for Mrs. Paschal's family, for Mr. Morgan's family for being here throughout all these processes. I'm fully aware of how much support Mr. Morgan had in the community, not just professionally, but certainly familially. I think every one of you have been at every court proceeding. It just shows what a important person he was in your life. There's nothing that the court can do to make this better, to make this okay, to make this any easier. I will say that the avoidance of a trial is a benefit to everyone because it is an extremely traumatic experience for everyone involved. And there would be images and things that you would have to see that you could never unsee. And so I appreciate Ms. Paschal for taking responsibility for this and making it so that the family does not have to go through any additional trauma based on the actions that occurred back in April of 2023. Based on the facts and circumstances in consideration of all relevant sentencing factors, applying the minimum sanction the court has determined will protect the public, yet also punish the offender, and not provide any unnecessary burden on state or local resources. A period of incarceration is certainly necessary due to the nature of the offense and the loss suffered by all of the victims in this matter. I'm sentencing you to a period of 20 years to life on count 1, aggravated murder and unclassified felony. In addition, that sentence will run consecutive to the 3-year firearm specification, which is attached to that count 1. That firearm specification 3-year sentence must be served first, it must be consecutive, and it is in fact mandatory. This will make you eligible for parole, which there's no guarantee of that, at the earliest at 23 years. You could serve up to life in prison for this matter. Do you understand all of that, Ms. Paschal?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. I will reiterate that the parties did reach this joint recommendation, and it was provided to the court prior to the acceptance of the plea, and it was, I would say, poured over by many of the people involved. So I am following that for all of those reasons. Did I forget anything on behalf of the state? On behalf of the defense?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. At this time, I'm going to execute the violent offender database form, and we will file that and have it made part of the record. Thank you, everyone.
All right.
If you found this case as chilling as we did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a new story. We post regularly, diving deep into unsolved mysteries, dark conspiracies, and the cases that still keep investigators up at night. What do you think happened in this case? Drop your theories in the comments. We want to hear your take. Until next time, stay safe and stay curious. This has been Crime and Conspiracy Files.